Mark, how would you assess how training camp's gone thus far? Are you guys ready for the season?
No, but we have 3 weeks left, thankfully. You know, I think training camp's been super successful for us. We have really clear goals that we're chasing in like 100 different areas. Our guys' effort has been incredible. Like every coach in America, I wish we were healthy. I wish we had everybody every day, but that's just, training camp is so brutal that you just rarely end up that way. But I think we'll make good progress. I think our guys are understanding who we want to be more, and we're going to use every second of these last 2.5 weeks, and let's roll it out, see what happens.
You said there's going to be an emphasis on three-point shooting, maybe to kind of, you know, narrow the gap.
Yep.
How is that going? Are the guys shooting the ball really well? Do you feel good?
Yeah, the guys are shooting it well. They've kind of got better as camp has progressed. You know, and there's a lot that goes into shooting, right? One is like the discipline of earning great shots for yourself and your teammate, but also doing it at a high pace and not turning down shots that are in your wheelhouse, right? And so that's a learning curve to apply it to real like full speed games. That's something that we'll dance around with. But we, as one of, you know, a dozen different components of the game, that's going to have to be something that's going to be really important to us. It just is. There's no way for us to get around it. We're going to have a way more success if we can force teams to guard 50 by 28 than if they're guarding 50 by 21. That just is, in this league, it's one of the best defensive leagues in the country. Teams just tear each other up, and so we have to find a way to make teams guard more space.
How much does bringing back the shot doctor help you kind of re-emphasize shooting and being a better shooting team?
Yeah, it's listen, we are working on every different slice of shooting the ball. Like it's we're getting really dynamic, creative with the way we're approaching it, and it's, you know, it's going to be fun. It's you know, we're also, one of our emphasis to go along with that is we have to find a way to be great on the offensive glass. We're undersized again. We're not the most overwhelmingly athletic team, but we're trying a new way to approach the offensive glass that I've actually never heard of or coached before, which is semi-terrifying, but we need to have some life on the offensive glass, so we're doing both of those.
How close are you on the starting lineup?
I'm far. You know, right now we have a lot of good players, and our special sauce is going to be doing this together. I think our guys understand this. We're going to have to rely heavily on each other, and so we're not walking into the season with the easy, you know, fingerprint of a starting lineup, and guys are competing right now for those spots.
Does Foose and Ali work together in the front course?
You know, we've you know, Ali, we had to bring him back really slowly, so he's only really been in live play for the last 10 days or so, and for the last 4 or 5 days we put him and Foose on the court together with really interesting results. There are some places in the game where those two function in elite level together, and some places where it puts us in real jeopardy right now. Different facets of the game, and so we're going to have to find the right time and the right way to make that work. But I think there's some really fun, exciting potential. Trying to milk Ali in some different situations, the ways we've never played before, that have been effective so far. So it's going to be really interesting. I know Foose loves playing with him on the court too.
When we were there, you were out of town recruiting, but Marcus had a boot on.
Yeah.
Although I know he's not.
Yeah.
If he is eligible, will that be a factor at all, or will he be?
Yeah, I mean, he's a really talented player. And I would love to have a chance. Man, I wish I could have him on the floor every day now. He is slowly kind of following his return to play protocol, which is going to be pretty extensive, but he is making progress. We've actually had him on the floor shooting, which is really exciting for us. But he's got both those issues. It's the kind of return to play issue and then the eligibility issue. But he's you know, he's a big time talent with a huge future in this game, and we're really happy to have him.
What other guys of maybe BYU fans going to be pleasantly surprised that we'll see some playing time?
You know, Trevin Nell's been really good. He's shooting 44% in live play so far in 3.5 weeks of camp on over 100 threes. That's just in live play. That's a lot. and we know him, but he just wasn't with us last year. Actually, we missed him, and so I think people are going to be really excited to have him back. This Dawson Baker is making a huge impact right now. He's been really, really good. We didn't get to have him on the foreign tour because he had surgery on his foot, but he's been really good. Noah Waterman's been playing at an elite level. Like he's like a reborn human being with how good he is. We've shifted positions with Jack, so Jax was kind of starting at the 4 for us last year a lot, and he's played a lot of point guard for us and a lot of 2 and 3, and he's clearly super dangerous. Spencer Johnson is not going to surprise anybody because he's been so good. Foose and Dallin have been so good. Richie's had a great last week. You know, we have a lot of guys that are going to have to contribute for us to be successful.
What does administration, maybe speaking of Homo and Santiago, what have they set the expectations for you going into this conference?
They're giving me, they promised me 1 year to win a national championship, and short of that, there's nothing. No, listen, I'm blessed with a great administration, and we're in this for the long haul, and this is where I want to be, actually, which is super exciting. And so I think we're very simpatico on how we're approaching this and what we know is ahead of us. The way I see this, you know, we talk about President Kimball's second century address all the time, right, as a foundation of what BYU is, and talk about being the Everest of colleges in America, right, of universities in America. And in terms of BYU men's basketball, it took us 100 years. I'm kind of a Mount Everest documentary series fan. And so you think about all the work that's entailed in like planning and preparing and training and logistics and everything else. And then just actually the journey of getting to base camp at Mount Everest. And it took us about 100 years to get there. And we're there. And it's been incredible coaches and players that are guys there. And now we're sitting there staring at the mountain, right? And that's where we are. And I think we all understand that. And we have no patience for it. We can't wait to get to it, but we understand what we're facing. We're super humble about it, and we're really confident about it. So let's go.
You said that this place you want to be at, you know, your name was linked to jobs earlier when you're at BYU.
Yeah.
So you want to see this thing through then?
Yes, like this is everything I can want in a basketball program. I'll tell you what, and I don't want to. This is just me, and so I got to be careful with how I say this, but this job at this university is what I think is the most uniquely challenging and rewarding job in America. Like, I'm really confident about saying that right now. That's really where I am. This is the most uniquely challenging and uniquely rewarding job in America. And right now, at this moment, in this time, we're facing the greatest challenge that we've ever faced as an athletic department and as a basketball program. Why would you ever want to go anywhere else? Like, it's awesome. This is super exciting. So let's go, man. I'm not naive to the challenge we're facing and some of the bludgeoning that we're going to take at times. But this is what it's all about. We're here, and we're assembling the right people to get this job done.
When you talk about unique things, we assume you're talking about the honor code, the academic restrictions. Are we on the right path, or there's something else?
I'm really talking about the mission of the university. So we have a dual mission at BYU. Like, it's just, we have a dual mission here, and that is very unique and very singular in college athletics right now. And most people would tell you that that's a recipe for disaster, that you have to be laser focused on only one thing, only one mission. But we're not, we're a dual mission place. And so the truth is, winning means more here. It just means more. There's no way around it. It means more. And it's more, and because of that, it's more important. And I dig it. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, guys. Like, I'm fully drinking the Kool-Aid, and I love it. Like, I love it. And the fact that this is everything I ever aspired to as an athlete in athletics as a coach, is to face the toughest challenge you can. And the bigger the challenge, I think the more excited we get, and we're in it now, right? Whew. My gosh, let's go.
You guys get Iowa State at your place this year. Do you remember much about it?
I remember everything, DeAndre Kane. Yes. I remember you poking Eric Mika's eyes out. Oh!
What more do you remember? I mean, that was...
No, it was an unbelievable game. So the other thing I remember is George Niang. Oh, George. So it was an unbelievable game. And it, you know, it was a much better game than us at Hilton because you guys cooked us, right? And then, of course, DeAndre, a great player, great career, and George, great career that continues on to this day. And it was a heavyweight matchup. And then what I remember is, of course, Eric going down and that being devastating the last couple of minutes. But then what really will haunt me for the rest of my life is it's an indictment on my recruiting, is George just in isolation, kind of that mid-post, just crushing us. He just crushed us the last couple of minutes. And why that really haunts me is because I'll never forget. So I'm sitting next to Danny Manning. We're recruiting in the Northeast at a prep tournament, and we're watching George 2 straight games be like 30 and 18. And you know George, like he couldn't jump over my phone, right? And it would take him, if there was a fire alarm in this building, there's a good chance George is not gonna make it out alive, right? But this dude, and so we're watching be so productive, and I look at Danny, and I'm like, Danny, like, can this translate to college? And Danny's like, I don't know. And meanwhile, Fred Hoiberg is sitting like 2 seats down. He's like, these idiots, they have no idea about this game of basketball. And George is one of my heroes, man. Like, the way he carries himself and what he's been able to do in this game of basketball. And then I'm still hurt by him beating us at the Marriott Center. But it's a super special game. And I remember being at Hilton. Like, the venues in this league are so special. But you go to Hilton, and this may not be accurate because you're in there and everything's a blur, but it seemed to me like it was sold out, and it seemed to me like 80% of the people had on these like vintage gold sweaters or red sweaters from like from the 1960s maybe. It was like the most beautiful thing of, like, you talk about people that seem to love that program. I mean, it's one of the great venues. I think it's a special place. So, you know, put it on the list of really great things about this league. And what they've done the last couple of years has been unbelievable. And how they've done it, it's got a ton of respect for the program.
I want to ask you about this league has the least amount of freshmen coming in of any Power 6 program, basically. Yes. What do you make of that and joining a league that's really darn old?
Yeah. You know, that we used to corner the market in old age at BYU. We're not. We were like the 296 youngest. I mean, we were super young last year. I think veterans win right now. In college basketball, veterans win. They win. Veterans might not be the flashiest, but like veteran teams are winning, and coaches are not dumb in this league. I mean, they're the best coaches in the country, and so you see them trying to go towards where they're going to win. And I think that coaches in this league are confident enough that they can renew and rebuild rosters quickly, that you know, they can stay old and veteran. There's just a difference between guys that have been through the wars and guys that haven't. You know, I wish there was a magic pill that you could take that would give you experience and understanding, but there's just not. And so, you know, it's probably why this league is so dominant, is because this league is so veteran. There's just a real truth to that. Clearly, you know, there's got to be a, you know, if you're building a roster, there's got to be a nice mix of personnel. And you have to. It's important, especially at our place. It's really important that we have some continuity. But it doesn't surprise me. It's the oldest league. It's the best league.
How do you blend that from a roster building perspective moving forward too, especially when, you know, the COVID year is going to end a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And then you're not going to have as many 24-year-olds playing college basketball.
I think all of us are asking ourselves that. Like, I mean, it is really a race to find a real understanding that with NIL and with the transfer portal and with, you know, with the COVID year coming and then going away in those transitions, everyone's trying to, you know, kind of navigate that space a little bit. For us, it's probably a little bit more of a unique picture than it is in some other places, just because we're different, right? But all of us are kind of facing that challenge right now.
Mark, how have you kind of been accepted as a newcomer by some of these other coaches? Do you have relationships with many coaches in the Big 12?
Yeah, it was nice. We've kind of known each other forever. So Kelvin Sampson also is a newcomer into the league, but Coach Sampson was the first coach to recruit me when I was like 7th grade. He was at Washington State. I was growing up in Seattle, and then you know, Mike and I kind of grew up like as counterparts a little bit. I'm a huge fan of his, and you know, I've had interactions with most of these coaches, and actually dig them all. They're great coaches. These are Hall of Fame coaches here, right? And so they've been super accepting, and I think they're welcoming. I think all the coaches want the league to grow and grow great, and so it's a really special group. We actually were at we did an event at Rucker Park this summer, which was so cool. And the night before, I think there were 6 of us coaches there, and so we had dinner together, and it was actually really special for me because I love learning from coaches. I love swapping ideas and hearing about them, and guys were really willing to share and talk about it. And you have some great men and some great ambassadors of the game of basketball, some great ambassadors of Jesus Christ. It's actually super cool. It's a great league, great coaches league.
Cincinnati's first Big 12 game was at your place.
Yeah.
Do you know much about them at all?
Yeah.
I was just out there for football, obviously.
Yeah.
That was pretty big.
Yeah, I know they're really good, and they're getting better every year. Wes is doing an unbelievable job. You know, he's one of the fastest rising coaches in college basketball, and I'm pretty familiar with the general juice and vibe at Cincinnati. It's a really special place. They take basketball really seriously. They're making huge commitments to the program, and I think they're going to get better and better. I think they're going to rise up to this league pretty fast. Huge expectations for what they're doing because of what they're doing. I think they're going to be really good.
Good enough.
Okay, you're welcome.
Are you getting in more doors because of the Big 12, recruiting-wise, or
Yes.
because of BYU's kind of uniqueness? Is that not a thing?
It's both. I think it's both. Like, we're always going to have the filters we have. It's part of what makes us good and what makes us special is we have these kind of intense filters. But initial conversations are much easier to come by because just the Big 12, right? And so it's you know, everybody knows it's the best league in the country. Most guys want to play in it. Actually, I've had some conversations where guys were like, I'm not sure I'm ready for the Big 12, which has been shocking to me. But certainly I think it opens more doors, and then we go through all our filters, and then at the end of the conversation, for those people that kind of fit us, which is really special what we are, then I think sometimes the Big 12 helps us close it also, right? So kind of the very front end and the very back end, but the middle is all the same. It's just like us finding fit at BYU is everything to us, and it's what makes us really good, and so that still remains the same.
Recruiting is always so multiple that I hate boiling it down to just one thing, but did the Big 12 conference affiliation and all of that, did that play into bringing Marcus in? Just because, I mean, he wanted to play in the Big 12, obviously going to Kansas. And Gonzaga is kind of its own entity, right? But did that sort of help with you guys?
I'd say what's super interesting about Marcus is I think that more than anything, Marcus was looking for BYU. Like, I know that's you guys that are covering us all the time, that might sound somewhat surprising, but for this time in his life, with the experiences that he had recently, he wanted somewhere that was what BYU is. I actually think BYU's identity and uniqueness and standards were more of a pull for him to come to BYU than the Big 12. And that's every recruiting situation is unique, but I think that's actually probably he would tell you that that's actually true. Certainly not in spite of being in the Big 12, but just probably not the #1 factor for him.
I was going to say, I mean, at the very least, it feels like it feels like the Big 12 is something that kind of gets you guys over the line maybe a little bit.
100%. 100%. Like,
Sure.
listen, you're always trying to check boxes in recruiting. The fact that we don't have to actually ever have that conversation anymore. You have the best league in the conference, on to the next thing, right? That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
The only time surprisingly it's come up has been like, no, I think you're good enough to play. Like some guys run. I've been shocked by a couple guys that run for the Big 12, but that's probably really telling too.
Yeah.
When you put together your non-con schedule, was it a significant departure because you mentioned up there you don't have to worry about quad 1, quad, and just was that kind of almost like really refreshing to put that together?
It was different. Fortunately, Nick Robinson does all that, so I don't have to do the legwork. But yeah, it was very much a different approach. We've been desperate. We've been going out offering 3-for-1s just to get quad 1 games, or for example, like last year, 2 years ago, we actually scheduled a game at Missouri State because playing on the road at Missouri State actually increased the level of that game. We're just so desperate to get higher level quad 1s or quad 2 games. Whereas if we played at home, we would have been a quad 3, right? And so those things were kind of gone for the calculation. We're still, we still end up with a really tough non-conference schedule. It just seems like you can't get away from it. But it kind of came more organically than it did us just desperately trying to make crazy deals and calculations to get there. And that makes it easier in that sense. It makes it easier. You guys are awesome. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
Next year.